for, all right, very good. So anyway, I think that because this is going to be such a wonderful program, I'll just go ahead and introduce our speaker and we'll go from there. And the speaker tonight is Paul Gray. And I'll just read you from here. Enjoys bird photography and is pleased to share photos and he's got over 500 recipients in his emails in a group he calls Paul's Peeps. And I have to say I'm one of the peeps. And he happily retired from the Adult Probation Department of Harris County. And also is retired for just over 29 years of combined active and reserve duty in the U.S. Air Force, which we salute you and appreciate. And the last part, he's a part-time job when needed at Wild Birds Unlimited in Kingwood, and he and his wife Carol enjoy getting out of town to visit bird locations, and she tries to keep him in order. So, but it doesn't work. So anyway, we're just so happy to have Paul here. He's been one of our members for a long time. And anyway, on to you, Paul. Thank you.
And we have some helpful assistance here who's going to get me on track. All right. Travels and Travails of a Spring Migration Photographer. I decided on that name because this year I've had a few travails. And for instance, I've been to places where the birds are not there. And well, I'll tell you what, let's do this first. We'll just do the travails first, okay? And let me see. All right. Number one, being at the right place at the wrong time. Some friends of, by the way, I don't know if the viewers can see my face. That's okay. Don't worry about it. I'd rather you see the presentation anyway. I wanted to do coastal, mostly coastal birding locations for this. We went to, some say Quintana, some say Quintana, down by Lake Jackson in that area. So we went there and I got there, what, about 10:30, 11 o'clock that morning, because we live in Humble and to get there real early just wasn't going to make it for us. One of my friends on the OMWC group that I meet with, OMWC, Old Men with Cameras. And there's about a dozen of us. And one of our, two of my friends at that group were there. One had been there since 7 a.m. He had like 7 different birds that he had listed, and that was great. The other one had a few, and I'll get back to that in a little while. When we were there, I'll show you what we saw in a minute. Now, another thing that is my fault, and it's definitely operator error, is not paying attention to camera settings. For instance, if I'm out in a lighted area and I've got the settings on my shutter speed high, and then I go into a darkened area and I see a bird in a darkened area and I zoom in on him and I'm saying, where is he? It's all dark. I haven't lowered the shutter speed on my camera, and vice versa. In the darkened area, you got a slow shutter speed. You go out and you take a picture and it's all blurred out, or it's all overdone, and that gets frustrating. Dark versus light, light versus dark, shutter speed, etc. Not carrying an extra battery. I was at Piney Woods here at one time a few weeks ago, and it was almost dark. Warblers and other birds are coming to the water drip, and my flash batteries died. And so it's time to go back to the car and get another battery. But by the time I would have gotten back to the drip, it was too late. So it's just something that needs to be in the front of my mind, but sometimes just is not. Processing. I'm still learning in Lightroom and Photoshop and Topaz. And I really love Topaz because it helps a whole heck of a lot in some things that I need to do in the computer. The weather sometimes can be very effective on not getting very many birds or a fallout. It's really interesting to see that weather dynamic. We were at Sabine Woods and it had been pretty dead during the day. A few birds showed up, not very many, and a front came in, dropped rain for about 30 minutes. And as the rain started slacking, there were birds everywhere. And so you don't always know if that's going to be right or not. The friends of mine over in Sabine Woods, they will have something that is going on and they'll look at this weather deal that they can see a cloud, and that's birds. And it'll be offshore, say down around the Corpus Christi or up in this area. And actually, Birdcast or another one will say, last night there were 300,000 birds that crossed into America, and there's 175,000 more to go today. And they'll see the cloud there that's maybe near Galveston, and they'll say, boy, Sabine Woods isn't going to be doing real great. And then all of a sudden something changes and here come the birds. So it's not a settled science for sure. And the saying, the wind is not your friend, is definitely one that photographers and birders think about, because a lot of us have thought, because of the lack of numbers coming down this year, is that the wind. Can anybody tell me how many days, more than about 3 or 4, that we haven't had a strong wind since probably January? I can only think of my fishing buddy and I can't even go fishing because of the wind. So the wind is not your friend. Once in a while, if you can get that bird going back and forth on that limb at the right shutter speed and all that, you might get a picture. But yeah, patience is a great virtue. Carol says, get some. And bless her heart, she has a lot of patience with me. Okay, that's pretty much the Travails, and I'll show you a couple more things in a minute. Canon R6 body, mirrorless, Canon 100 to 500L lens that I use. I've been using the 1.4 teleconverter a whole lot more because the birds have been small and I've wanting to bring them up closer. And so with the 500 and the 1.4, that gives me an effective 700 millimeters on the camera that day. And I like that. I'm getting used to it. And settings, I usually have autofocus. I set my dial on manual and the ISO for auto. And I'm really surprised that this camera getting me some really decent, good, crisp shots at ISO 6400. And I put it where it won't go above that. And so sometimes in proper light, you'll get less ISO, which is good. Shutter speed variable depending on subject, light, and situation. There's again, I'm wanting to get a bird in flight shot, which we call BIF, B-I-F, bird in flight. Carol the other day came up with NIF, NIF, not in flight. Okay, so let your birder friends know there's a new acronym. That's another thing. I was in shooting slower shutter speed in dark area. I went out and here goes a bird flying by. And guess what? It's all blurry because I didn't increase the shutter speed. So it's just part of learning, part of not remembering like I should. So let's get going. Like I said, we started at Quintana, and it's down there. It's a couple of blocks, 2 or 3 blocks in a kind of a subdivision. There's not too many houses there. There's a few, and the birds sometimes come in there by the, oh, I'm telling you, you can see bird lists on eBird or iBird, and you find out who reported so many birds, and it's really neat. The day we went there, they have a stand-up bird blind, and that's okay. It's pretty much okay. And then there's a bench over there on the other side, and they have a couple of water drips there. And this water drip, do you see any birds? We didn't either. And the one bird that we did see, we went across the street behind the place where they where you sign in and buy a t-shirt or whatever. And this, I think it's a great-tailed grackle, was there. And he was frozen in, like you see him here. And I couldn't figure out what the heck is going on. And I looked below him, and there were 2 other grackles below him. So I guess it was I'm the boss here, and I'm going to freeze in this position until you guys leave. And for that day, that was the only bird I took a picture of. All right. So we come back to later on, what, a week or so later, we go back to Quintana again. And guess what? I got 2 pictures to take home with me that day. We saw a mockingbird in a nest, and we saw a hummingbird. Now, had I got there real early in the morning and stayed all day maybe, and then until almost dark, we probably would have gotten more, but we were kind of on a journey to get this presentation going. So going back up on Galveston, there's a place called Dos Vacas Muertas. That's 2 dead cows. That is Spanish for 2 dead cows. And Houston Audubon keeps care of it. They could do a better job. They have done a pretty good job on their bird blind. Their water drip, they used to have 2. One was not working, I don't think, the other day. One was. And our suggestion, if you know anybody with Houston Audubon, thank them for the bird blind, but ask them if you don't mind giving them some constructive criticism. And after you go there, take notes and let them know. The bird blind's pretty cool. That bench that you see there, does this show up? It doesn't show up. Okay. The bench that you see there could be brought up close to where the lower windows are. And while we were there, guess what? Only 1 bird picture for that place. And the thing is that the night before I had looked on eBird, and I went there, and this one guy must have stayed there all day long. He had like 28 or 30 different birds that he had seen that day, and how many numbers of each bird he had seen. I admire people with a mind like that, and hats off to them. My mind is not quite there yet. But anyway, the bird blind, looking out, here's my bird that showed up. There's a kind of a marshy area and then water, and then this purple gallinule came out from the bushes, the area over there, and got 2 or 3 shots of him and enjoyed that. Another of my own OMWC friends was at the right place at the right time. 2 purple gallinules. One, the lady was just posing just great. The other one, the male, and he got a picture. One of the shots was of them mating. And I'm going, you guys, man alive. The next place that I love to go to, now I'm beginning to show you the ones that I really love to go to. My second favorite one is Lafitte's Cove. Of all the places that we've been, in Lafitte's Cove, they have a map there. You pull into a parking lot, and they have put new boards on their boardwalk. The pond there, they're kind of dry right now because of the drought that's going on. But they're not, one side is almost completely dry. The other one has got water in it, and you follow that down the pathway, and then you go to a woodsy area, and they have one water drip that's on a platform, one that's kind of on the ground, and another one that's on the ground around the corner. And in the woods, when it's a good day, you see lots of birds. We went through there, didn't see much. I'll show you one in a minute though. But out away from the woods, as you step out of the woods, we found, and when I first saw this flock, I said, hey, a bunch of sparrows turned up. Then I got at home, took a single picture of a dickcissel. And that was a whole flock of dickcissels that showed up there. I've only seen one other dickcissel before, and that was over at Anahuac at their bird drip. And it's a beautiful little bird and really got a good shot there. And then out there in the field is a big mulberry tree, and birds are going in and out of that. And so the Baltimore Oriole immature, I saw that there was an eBird report that there was a hooded Oriole there. And I think it might have been an immature, maybe a Baltimore or one of the others. But anyway, I didn't contest it. Who am I? And inside that, there was the Eastern Kingbird. And then where the water is still in one of the ponds there, one of the tanks for you Texans, there was a long-billed dowitcher. There's a whole bunch of different birds, and a least sandpiper. You'll see another one of them later, and a greater yellow legs. And by the way, he's not one-legged. He does have his second one. Most of you know that. And we have the lesser yellow legs, and sure enough, he's got two. Well, I don't know that much difference. If you have iBird on your phone and also Merlin, I can come up to here and I can see that bird, and I can bring up my iBird Pro, and there's a thing on there that says sleuth. You have to pay for that one, and you take a picture of that bird that's on your computer, and then you step through it, and it'll tell you what it thinks that bird is. It may say 95% greater yellow legs, 5% lesser yellow legs. Okay, and it'll give you like 3 birds, and it'll go 99% 0 0, you know, and if it's close, and sometimes they get it wrong. I've had a lot of laughs at some of the ones they get wrong, but and then I'm sure you know what a killdeer looks like. I haven't seen too many killdeer at a water location getting a bath, but this one was, and was just showing off. And then the great egret, one presentation I had before had a great egret with its mouth partway open and a skink it's about to bite down on. And I think this might be the same egret. That rascal is there every time I go to Lafitte's Cove. And okay, who's watching who? What is going on? And I know that the bird is much farther away from the man than it looks, but I swear that the bird was watching to see if there was bugs in there that he could go after, and the man's looking for birds and doesn't even know that there's a bird almost beside him. And that kind of, I thought, was funny. And then there was a white-faced ibis there. Another birder, bless his heart, swore up and down it was a glossy. And I said, no, but I didn't say any more. I said, okay, you know, it's whatever you want it to be. That's fine, sir. There's a tendency, there are glossies that show up in our greater Houston area and on the coast, but the predominant numbers are found in white-faced ibis, as I understand. All right, now, the drip I told you about, the brown thrasher and its mate, I got a bunch of pictures of them, but I just decided to put the video on. And that noise in the background is construction around the subdivision. And there you go. All right, traveling on toward Greater Galveston, you go down Stewart Road and you come to, what's the name of that road that goes to Artist Boat? Settergast or something like that, huh? You said 8 Mile, but it's before 8 Mile. It's before 8 Mile. Settergast Road, and you drive up in there and they have 156 acres that you can access. It's not too wooded, and I guess it's mostly for people looking for birds that are in the area there in the smaller woods and stuff. The Artist Boat, we haven't gone in there that much, but we've driven down that road and we've enjoyed seeing scissortail flycatchers there. Pulled up, stopped the car, took the picture, and I said, I know because I've been here before last year and got some good shots of him, and I know he's going to take off and go get him something, but he turned into Pinocchio. He turned into Pinocchio, and I went, do I want to show that picture or not? And I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll play around with good old Lightroom and see what happens. And so I just took Pinocchio away. And that's kind of why I like Lightroom. Now, I thought, you know, maybe it's a little bit too light in the background. Let me see if I can draw more attention to him. And I did that. Now, you say tomato, I say tomato. Some may like that one better. Some may like that one better. And I kind of like this one better. So anyway, it shows him pretty good. And that's all we got on that particular road. But then who said 8 Mile Road a while ago? There you go. You go up Stewart and you come to 8 Mile Road and you start down 8 Mile Road and you can go slow and look for birds on either side. There's a couple of places where you kind of go over a water area. It's a short one. I've seen a clapper rail there, not in this presentation. And then you come to Sportsman Road and you turn west on Sportsman Road off of 8 Mile Road. And that's where you really see some good birds a lot of the time. The little blue heron fishing, looking for something. The great blue heron that is way too close almost because I had that 1.4 on. That is somewhat cropped, but the great blue, he's looking for food, for fish. Then coming back on 8 Mile Road, there were 3 sandhill cranes and the lighting was wrong. I'm looking west and the sun is in the west. And so I had to really play with that just to get it acceptable, but it was really neat to see them there. Another one of my peeps had mentioned sandhill cranes there, and I wanted to get some pictures of them, and there it was. So continuing on eastward, Bolivar, now there's more places in Galveston. There's Core Woods and there's other locations, but we didn't go there. The Bolivar Peninsula and Rollover Pass, which is not any longer much of a pass, you walk, used to be able to, on one side or the other, you'd see 50 fishermen there, and the thing's wide as this room almost, going through the pass, but now it's only about, the water going through there, it's only about this wide. They filled it in, and supposedly they were going to put a great big long fishing pier out there, and I don't know what happened to that. But if you go onto the bay side of Rollover Pass, there's all kinds of wading birds that show up there. Now, I mentioned Bolivar Flats there. We have not gone out on the flats near the Gulf yet, but that's another plan that we have. Rollover Pass had the least sandpiper, another one showed up. It had the, and I love these guys, the ruddy turnstone. There were a few of them there at the beach that day, or at the if the tide is in and way up, you're going to have a little bit of a problem. So try to time it where the tide is out, and the birds are working the flats there. Dunlin and Wilson's plover. I used to say plover, and I went online, and the English, the American pronunciation is plover. The British pronunciation is plover. Okay, so I'm sticking with plover. Now a black-bellied plover. This is a new bird for me. Now it's not black-bellied because it's a juvenile, and and my phone even said black-bellied plover. Okay, my eBird. That was pretty cool. Love to go there and try to do some flight pitch, some biffs, and do some birds in flight practice, which I fail 90% of the time. But and then there's a road on Bolivar called, my friend took me down it. Maybe it'll come to mind. The Wimbrel was there, just right outside the window, right there. And I had to turn the camera up just to get him. Now, the next, we're going to go even farther east to High Island. There's about 4 or 5 different places on High Island to go to. Hooks Woods is one of them. It's fairly small. We were there late in the afternoon, so we didn't get to go in. I wish I would have, because I heard of some bird that was seen that day that would have been a new one on my list. But that's, like I said, the travails of a photographer. So Hooks Woods is one place. I think they've got a new drip set in there. I'm going to have to go find out about it and see what they've got. And there's Boy Scout Woods, which I did not go to. And this year is the first time I've been to High Island in about 4 or 5 years. And I heard about what they, sorry, sorry, no Hooks Woods photos. And I've heard about the elevated boardwalk that they have. And I understand that Houston Audubon sunk about $1 million into putting this thing in. And it's really cool to walk, because as you go up that and to the left, there's a kind of a new horseshoe shaped rookery area. And you can see the birds in action. They're a pretty good distance away. But if you turn to the right, you're almost in the canopy right there, looking down on birds. And I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. And then it goes all the way out to the rookery, overlooking the rookery there at the southern end of the rookery. And then you go downstairs and you get on the levee and walk up and down there. So part of the, I'll confess, part of the reason I haven't gone that often is sometimes I've been there, there's more people than there are birds. And I tend to not want to be among a great crowd. It's just me. But when we went there, everything was pretty much okay. And from where I'm standing, there's a tree right over us. And I had 4 warblers in about 5 minutes time that day. I have a picture of one of them here in a minute. But this year, the tricolored herons are much more in numbers at High Island than I've ever seen them before. Just great numbers. I mean, flying like crazy all over the place. And this one was just right below us and posed so well, I just decided to cut off the rest of him and make a portrait. Beautiful bird. When you're standing on the platforms there, you can practice your biffs, and once in a while you get a halfway decent biff. And the snowy egrets, I love the snowy egrets to watch them when they're doing their mating dance. They'll come up high in the air and they're just going around like this, and both of them on a bad feather day. It's just awesome to watch them. And then the spoonbills that day that we were there were still mating, and they were still making nests. So if you go to High Island now, probably this weekend, you probably will see some baby spoonbills in their nest. A lot of the great egrets, they're the ones that their eggs hatch first, it seems, and a lot of those babies may still be in the nest, but a lot of them have already fledged and gone. And they'll come down to the water and splash around a little bit. And I kind of like that composition there. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, tighten your seatbelt. Here, we'll continue. Those one of the 4 I told you about, the yellow-throated warbler, was there, and we just had a good time. But here we are, way up on that boardwalk, looking down, and this little guy that's our friends from Colorado. I wanted to say, shut up. The smallest bird in your backyard and the loudest. And then the scarlet tanager had a bug. Now, we came to the conclusion, as close as we could look at this bug, that it was a stink bug. And as you watch, he's going to finish taking its head off. And he'll swallow the head, and I think he finished up with a bug, but I was tired of videoing him by that time. Those new mirrorless cannon, all you have is a 1 push button, and it'll video and start and stop now. So much better than how they used to be. But see, there goes the head. Yum, yum. All right, and then you want to see some hungry little egrets. How she keeps from getting her eyes poked out, I have no idea. So that was kind of fun. It is fun to watch all the cacophony going on there and watch the birds, and then watch some of the people respond to them, and it's really cool. Next, going up a little bit, Anahuac National Wildlife Refuge. There's they've refashioned their water drip there, and that's where I had some fairly good luck this year. And we had some hungry birds. mulberries were not ripe yet, and they were eating green mulberries. That's how hungry they were. Well, if you'd have flapped your wings 500 miles from the Yucatan to Anahuac, you'd be hungry too. And these guys were there that morning. The Eastern Wood Pewee was there. The yellow warbler. This is at the drip. Orchard oriole. I can see why they might have thought that was a hooded. The black-throated green. The bay-breasted warbler. I love those. There's one I did not get this year. Well, there's a number I didn't get. Well, anyway, going on. Lincoln sparrow, that was a new one for my life list. This guy and an ovenbird were in the leaves there behind the bird blind. We're looking out, and then we look back over here, and there they were working the leaves like crazy. I got probably 40 shots of the ovenbird and Lord knows how many of the Lincoln sparrow. The Lincoln sparrow came later to the drip. And then there's a little bit of a rivalry going on. The catbird and the summer tanager standing off each other. And that's where people like to hit their shutter speed and let it go like 15 or 20. I'm still conservative when it comes to hitting my shutter speed for a whole bunch of pictures. I don't know why. It's just, I guess because I don't like to go through all of them when I get home in the computer. Yellow-billed cuckoo, had some friends that had been there. They left, they came back, and then they left again. I sent this to them. I said, look what you missed. The yellow-billed cuckoo showed up. I thought he was going to come to the water drip, but he did not. And to me, this is my best picture of many that I took there. This was down at the bird blind. You got the water drip, and then there's a pond right here that they've got. And they've got this, forget the name of the plant. Huh? Pickerel was growing there. And I just happened to look down, and this is pretty tremendously cropped, but I thought it turned out to be a pretty good shot. Now, to my favorite all-time place to go, 104 miles away from home, is Sabine Woods. And sometimes I get there early, sometimes not as early, but there's been a number of times that the sun is setting when I leave the woods. There's a friend of mine over there with the Golden Triangle Audubon Society. He shows up, and there's been I guess at least 4 times that he and I have been the last 2 people in Sabine Woods. We come out and there's only 2 cars, his and mine. And pardon? No, that's Harlan Stewart. And great guy. And I got Carol to go, and our friends from Colorado were there. And this is our little circle tree that we like to take pictures in. And we had on our rain gear because that's the day that front was coming in, and almost no birds before the front, and then after the front. And the predominant species of bird was the different thrushes that come in. And so it was a heck of a evening there, late afternoon. And so Carol, by the way, thought of the name that she gave us, Mr. and Mrs. Birdbrain. Again, standing off a black and white warbler, blue-winged, and then 3, even though Tennessee, both of those are Tennessee, one of them is wetter than the other one, I guess, and maybe more adult than the other. Wilson's warbler, I saw there. The first Wilson's warbler I ever saw was at Sabine Woods, and that's, I don't know how many years ago, 6, 8 years ago, okay? And I have never seen another Wilson's warbler until this year. And I saw 2. This one at Sabine Woods and one of them over at Anahuac. at the drip. And it made my day for sure. Blue wings come in, and they're one beautiful striking bird. Kentucky warbler, prothonotary warbler, that's another one of my favorites. What bird is my favorite? The one in front of my lens at that moment. And the worm-eating warbler, the blue-headed vireo. And by the way, I've still got 2 or 3 days that I haven't processed all the photos from 4 times going over to Sabine Woods this year. The white-eyed vireo and the American redstart male and the American redstart female. Am I going too fast? I want to try to make sure we. Chestnut sided. He showed up. He was up in there and he just would not show, but finally he came to the water drip. And the painted bunting female. Guess what? I didn't get a male bunt. Oh. For some reason, the males, and there was a couple of other birds that showed up that we got female pictures of the females, but the males for some reason just weren't showing up on that particular day. The indigo bunting, I think this is one of the best framed pictures, composition of the group. The Cape May warbler female, and again, the male didn't show up. Cape May, I love them. You know, when I was talking about being at the right place at the right time, Carlos Hernandez got a picture of a male Cape May warbler at Quintana on some red coral bean, and this Cape May male was pulling a caterpillar out of one of the flowers, and excellent shot. We didn't see it when we were there. The Cape May female again. And the guys let me know of a Chuck Will's widow, and took me to where I could photograph it. It was way up on a limb, resting for the day. And Chuck Will's widow, I said, where in the heck did they get that name? And so I went to the web, of course, everything is there. And Chuck Will's widow, there's no Chuck and there's no Will, but it's what their sound sounds like. Okay, so your homework, should you choose to accept it, is to go home and put a Chuck Will's widow sound and hit the button, and you'll hear it almost say Chuck Will's widow. And so that, and I don't remember if I put any, no, I don't, oh yeah, I did later. Anyway, the common nighthawks are over there too, all over the place, on the ground, on a fence post, on a fencing. I mean, and you can drive up to them, and unless you almost stumble on them, they'll just sit there because they've been out looking for bugs all night, you know. Orchard oriole, and of course the summer tanager, and playing hide and seek is the scarlet tanager, and this is all at Sabine Woods over there in Sabine Pass. There's another place called Texas Point, kind of small, but there's a little trail you can follow. I saw a Cape May male there a year or two ago. Didn't get great pictures of him, but that's one place. And then if you go all the way down to Sea Rim State Park and go in there, you can go and get a lot of shorebird activity, which That's one of my big, and I love shorebirds, but identifying them just drives me nuts. And then you can go up into McFadden National Wildlife Refuge, and once in a while you'll see some pretty good birds there. So that's the tail end. Now, the Travails overshadow the Travails, and I just roll with the flow. And sometimes I exercise patience, and I stay there forever. And I love to do that. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Pardon me? Is this all in April? Okay. You're this time of year. It would begin a little bit in March, a little bit in March, but it increases up until about the middle of April. And then after the middle of April, sometimes it will start decreasing a bit until almost the end of May. All right, now, with that in mind, pro photographers and birders from different walks of life have indicated to me that the best week of the migration is the week that April the 20th falls in. Okay, so you see April the 20th is on a Sunday or a Monday, then that whole week should be the best week. And I say that because sometimes it's not. And a lot of the folks, especially the ones over at Sabine Woods area, the Golden Triangle folks, there's one guy, John Haynes, that goes there almost every day. And he hears something, he'll say, that's a Swainson's warbler, and it's right over here. He knows the warblers. I was there one time, I got in a little bit late. He's standing under one of the big, tall oak trees. And there's like 15 or so people around him. And for an hour and a half, they were all getting warbler neck. Okay. And for an hour and a half, they're all going around in circles there. And they had seen 26 different warblers. And and even though I got there late, I saw a few. So there you have it. And I really appreciate y'all being here. And I hope the Zoom people were able to observe. Yes, ma'am. The app that you have that identifies the birds. Yeah. What is it? eBird. Oh, eBird. No. Oh. Take a picture of the bird. Yeah. Yeah. And Merlin will do it, but I prefer eBird. When we finish here and turn it off, come up and I'll show you how it works. Okay. And for those of you who may not be on my email list, if you'll put your name and email here, I'll add you. And when you want to say take it off, let me know. Free. It's free, and I do not overfill your email address, except maybe this time of year I might put out a couple of extra emails. But probably July and August, I may not do any emails to my peeps. Okay. Anything else? Okay, Kathy.
So let me just end this thing real quick here.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much, Paul. That was just wonderful. As usual, we really enjoyed that. I just wanted to last remind people that June, July, and August, we don't meet at all because those are our hot months, as we know here. We'll just enjoy what we can. We will meet again in September. September and October, we're going to be starting to meet on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays. So it'll be the third Tuesday, but the dates are always in the newsletter or on the Facebook page. So you can always look at that. We have programs set up right now for September and October. We don't have anybody for November 15th. So if anybody has any ideas, contact Claire or myself or Diane. We'd love to get another speaker lined up, but we'll have one by November. But I just so glad that with this program, it was just wonderful as always. And let's all have a wonderful summer, enjoy the birds, and we'll see you hopefully in September again. All right, thank you.
I might mention, if you go to Anahuac, Fish and Wildlife Services, drying up shovels.
Thank you.
They're allowing it to dry up.
And
To control invasive species.
Mhm.
So
when you show up at the Shoveler's Pond, there's a big sign there with a thing you can point your phone at, and it'll bring up the information of why they're doing that. Now, there's still water that parallels the road around Shoveler Pond, and there's a few little water ponds, small. And the other day, I didn't put this on here. The other day, 2 king rails came out of the wood, and I got like 50 pictures of them. And it was amazing.
I might mention, I just counted alligators as I went around the road by Shepherd's Pond. We got 156.
A lot of alligators.
Pardon me?
There's a bird out there.
Oh.
Oh, never mind. I said it's a mockingbird.
Did you log out?
I'm trying. It looks like I'm still.
Should be down there at the bottom.
In. Yeah, I got it.
In for off.